Welcome everyone. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Navneet Singh Rai. I'm here representing Sikh Heritage Month. Before I pass it down to Sandeep Singh, our speaker today, I did quickly want to introduce Sandeep Singh. Sandeep Singh Brar, who is a curator for sikhmuseum.com and is a curator for the world's first Sikh website, sikh.org. He was involved with the first two Sikh Heritage Months as well. He had his exhibits up in Pama. And today he will be launching his new exhibit called Punjab Roots from Life in Punjab, a sikhmuseum.com photo exhibit. In order to understand the plight of farmers in Punjab today, you must first understand their roots, the timeless connection that Sikhs have always had with the five rivers and Punjab. This photo exhibit features stunning, never seen before photographs of rural life in Punjab taken over 25 years ago before the arrival of internet, cell phones, and digital cameras. The photos capture a simpler life in Punjab that showcases the timeless vibrancy of people in Punjab that has defined a way of their life for hundreds of years and now is threatened. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our speaker today, Sandeep Singh. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thank you, Navneet. Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'd like to thank you to the Sikh Heritage Foundation for hosting this world premiere live launch of this exhibit. It's really exciting to reach this broad audience. And I think this exhibit, these pictures were taken 26 years ago and they've never been exhibited before. So it's just an opportune time because there is such a heightened awareness of the lifestyle of that is potentially could be lost with the dramatic changes in legislation regarding farmers in Punjab. So if you really want to understand why are people so upset and what is it that could be lost forever, you really need to understand it, as you said, Navdeep. And as they say, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So I think these photos really convey the timeless qualities of Punjab. Of course, Punjab has changed in 26 years. So in many ways, these are now a historical record of a moment in time. I'll take you back to 1995 and just give you a little bit of background on myself and how this whole project came about. So my family left Punjab and they left India in 1948 after partition, and they moved to Kenya. That's on my mother's side of the family, and that's where I was born. And then I came to Canada when I was 6 years old, and I was raised here. The only time I had been to Punjab before that when I was 6 years old, so I had very little memories of it. And my father passed away when I was 12 years old, and his side of the family was still in Punjab and still in our Pind. And I was 95 and I had just gotten married, and I said, you know what, I need to search out my roots and connect with my family. And so I just quit my job and I went to Punjab for 3 months. I saw my grandfather for the first time since I was an infant. He was still alive at the time, still living in the Pind, and my pua was in Ludhiana, and my grandfather was so elated. And I said, grandfather, I really want to see Punjab because photography is a great passion of mine. So I decided that, I would document this trip and this people, this culture, because in many ways, when I was in Punjab, I was a stranger in a strange land because everything was new to me. Everything was unique. It was a real, I would say, culture shock. And I have so much of an appreciation now when people come here from Punjab and just what they may go through, because all of your frames of reference are completely different. It's a completely different world. So my grandfather got me a car and a driver, and I spent 3 months just roaming around Punjab. I was really keen to see the historical gurdwaras of Punjab and connect with Sikhi. So I visited 65 gurdwaras during my trip. Now, this is before, the advent of digital cameras. So I had 24 rolls of film, and each roll of film has just 36 exposures on it. And I had to make this last. So, unlike a digital now where, I can shoot like over 1,000 pictures in a day on a photo shoot, this is just, less than 800 pictures that have to last me these film rolls the whole 3 months. And then I had other challenges because I had to keep it safe from airport x-rays because they ruin film. They cause exposure. So I had to have it in like a lead lined box. And then also I had to keep it refrigerated because colors shift on film. So I had a lot of challenges, logistical challenges with the film, but it survived. And my idea originally was to create a table book on Punjab with my photos, but that didn't happen. And then I thought, I'll have a gallery exhibit one day. It was just kind of on the back burner. Just got busy with other things, and so now here they are. So, when we look at these pictures, I look at these people's eyes, and I'm just there's so many stories here from the time that I was there, and I hope that through this exhibit that being launched, that people are able to maybe recognize someone, maybe a family member or yourself in some of these pictures, and maybe some of these stories can come out because it was my interaction with them for a few minutes, but 26 years later, let's see what has happened. So with further ado, let's jump into the exhibit. It just went live less than 5 minutes ago on sikhmuseum.com. So that's how you get there. Just go to your web browser, and I'll guide you through it now. But in terms of letting other people know that the exhibit and sharing it with them, just go to sikhmuseum.com in your browser, and I'm going to share my screen now. We're going to take a tour of the exhibit, and I'll talk about some of the pictures. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, so here we are on sikhmuseum.com's homepage, and this is a site that's been my passion for over 20 years. I take deep dives in research into different aspects of our heritage, and rather than publish books, I publish online exhibits. And if time permits, I'll talk more about some of the exhibits here. But here's the Punjab Roots exhibit. So let's click on it, go to it. So this is the website. I'm just going to minimize. And what I did was I kind of classified the photos and broke them down into rural life in the villages and farms of Punjab, interesting things on the road that I saw, the amazing landscapes of Punjab, some of the interesting people that I photographed, and devotion, which plays such an integral part of the people of Punjab. So let's step into looking at some of these. I'll just pick some images and talk about them that kind of are interesting to me. This is really cute. This cute little Baba was sitting here in this village, and he had spread out this sheet, and he's selling children's toys. And you can see little cars here, little horns. Here's little purses for the girls. He's got these little wind-up birds. It's just so interesting to look at the picture and you see all the things going on. And how this exhibit works, if you click on any picture, then you can go through a slide. You can just the picture, and it's fully mobile friendly, the website as well. So if you're on your phone, you can just click on it, bring it up, and then you can scroll through with your thumb. close it. And if you go to the bottom or the top, there's the links to the home page, so you can go back and go into another category. Let's go. It's an interesting one here. They're walking in a village, and on the signs here it says that if you're fat, there's a hospital nearby. You see these majestic village gates that people put up, and then it says here, who put it up and whose memory. Beautiful gates. This is such a precious picture of a dying art, because the weaving of textiles at home. This wasn't in the mill or anything. This was at her home in a room that they set it up, and this art is not being passed on, and it's just such an important picture. The story it tells. Here's a matriarch of family, Baba, and they're all sitting around, and we've come to visit. Chairs out for us. I find it really interesting. It's got a little transistor radio happening here, keeping up and listening. This, if you're wondering what's going on here, they're making rope. So she moves the machine with her foot, and then they're making rope out there. This was a potato farm. It's pretty unusual to see someone dressed like that working in a farm field, but I think these are migrant workers. It was the affluent lady that owned this farm, and then she gets these migrant workers from other parts of India that come in and work on the farm. Here was a agriculture fair of all the latest tools and farm machinery, and I would contrast this with the next picture. So this is high tech, and then you go to the other end, and this is also a fair, and this is a cattle fair where farmers would gather to buy and sell cattle. And so this is just an interesting contrast between old and new technology. Milking of the buffalo there, I believe it or not, I actually had that milk, and it was like warm, and it was really, really good, but something I've never experienced since. These are cow dung patties. They're sun-dried, and they're really the primary fuel that are used in the villages, and you just see them everywhere, these giant mounds of cow dung patties. Part of the landscape. Your husband and wife is using a thresher machine, and there's an interesting story behind this machine connected to my family. So my grandfather, who lived in the Pind, he had never been to school. He couldn't even read or write. My grandmother used to read for him. And my dad was the only son, and he was destined for just a life on the village, working on the farm with his dad. But when he was 12 years old, he was working on this threshing machine, and his hand got caught in it, and all his fingers on his hand except two were cut off, including his thumb got cut off. So my grandfather then said, "Gee, I mean, your hand's all cut off. You're really no good for working on the farm. Might as well send you to school." So he became the first person in my family to ever go to school, and then that led to the trajectory of him marrying my mom and moving to Kenya, and us eventually being here. So it all goes back to what would have happened if you wouldn't have cut his hand off in this machine. Interesting to think. again, I sent, some friends here, and you can just see these cow dung patties everywhere. This is a tube well. You see these everywhere where it's a pump, and it pumps out water, and then it goes into channels throughout the field, and they have an intricate system of how they feed these channels and turn the pump on. This is really a quintessential image of Punjabi farmers. You can see the proud farmers. This is his brother, both of them. I love this image. It's one of my favorites. It is, if I had to sum up uh, the timeless quality of life in rural Punjab, this would be it. This is probably a scene that could have been 100 years ago or 26 years ago, as in this case. Like, it's just so timeless. Just really speaks to me. This is a fruit I'd never seen before. It's called a bear. It's a small little fruit like a pear. And this Papa was selling it on the side of the road. So he just put his little sheet up. He's got the scale to weigh out how many bears you're buying from him. And again, you can see the canals and just the lusciousness of Punjab. I encountered some Nihangs, and I had never met them personally before. And this was my first encounter with them. I really had a very interesting day with them. I was just driving by, and I saw these Nihangs in this farm field, and I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Well, why don't you come with us to our camp?" So they are nomadic. Well, semi-nomadic, I would say. And what they do is they set up camps in different parts of Punjab, and then they move through them. One of the interesting things is that they have the right to go into anyone's farm field and take whatever crops they want without asking or without paying. That's just a given right, and all farmers respect that. And there's no issues. So here they are in somebody's field, and they're gathering up crops for their to take back to their camp. And here they were. They loaded it up on this horse, and then they went along. And I just followed them, and we ended up at their camp. So here they are in the camp, and they're making something they call sukha prashad. Very interesting concoction. So they have this big, giant grinding mortar. It's like 6 feet tall, and the making of the sukha prashad is for them a religious ceremony. So he's got his sword out, and they're grinding. And what is this recipe of sukha prashad? Well, what they're doing is they're grinding up black peppers, pumpkin seeds, almond, garam masala, and dried marijuana leaves. And they grind it up into powder, and they mix it with water, and then you filter out the residue through a white filter cloth, and then they drink this liquid. And just it made them very happy, and they're so happy they offered it to me, and I said, "Well, thanks, but no thanks." And they even fed it to their horses as well. So both them and their horses were very happy. This is good, molasses. It's big, freshly made. So they've dug a pit. They have a fire going underneath, and here you can see the remnants of the sugar cane that they've ground up. So they're making fresh, good, and I mean, it tasted so amazing. I've never had a good that tasted like that. Not a picture of people, but just ancient door. I would just love to learn the stories of all the people that lived here. These are the old style small bricks. So this house is very old. It's just beautiful architecture, and these are walled up now, but these are little alcoves where they put their lamps, oil lamps at nighttime. Came across this Baba. This is his house, and he was living alone here. It was kind of sad because his family didn't want to live in the Pind, and his wife had passed away, so he was living alone in this beautiful, majestic house that's seen better days. I mean, I just again wonder the stories of how many generations of his family lived in this house. And this is the inside of his house. As you can see, it's very sparse and utilitarian, very simple life. Let's go on to the road. One of the interesting things during my visit was just people were just so excited and happy to see me taking their picture. Um, it was like, almost like they'd never seen someone with a camera because, Punjab at that time is not on any tourist destination. This is 10 years after 1984. There was an intense, even then, military presence in Punjab. It's like, I swear, almost every 50 meters, there was a policeman or a military person stationed. So, they were coming out of a very dark time where, entire generation young men had been killed by the police encounters. And I just found the people to be in such high spirits, and they were just so honored and flattered that, hey, you want to take a picture of me? And they would invite me to their homes, and it was just such a wonderful experience. So, I would be driving along, and I would see something interesting, and just stick my head out the side of the car with my camera and take a picture. And once they saw the camera, they got all excited, and everyone's all happy. Always taking a picture. I drove by them on the road, and I was like, stopped the car, and I just waited for them to catch up to me in the car. I just love the expression of the little boy and girl. They're going somewhere slowly. You never know what you'll see on the road. Here's a man and his dog going along a tractor trailer. Many times I would see this scene with a lot of people on a tractor, and normally it's they're going somewhere, and many times they'd be dressed in their finest because they're actually going to a religious festival. So there's lots of religious festivals, and the people really take it very seriously. So you can see all the women are here in the trailer, and the men are all sitting on the tractor. And just pretty precariously balanced hair, could easily fall off. I think you see that here, they're all dressed up in their finest and going off to some Gurdwara festival. She's dressed so colorfully and nicely. He's dressed up pretty fancy. He's got his sneakers happening. I'm just driving by, stuck my hand out the camera out the door, took the picture. I love these buses. They're just so fascinating. A microcosm of humanity. There's people inside the bus. There's people on top of the bus. It's just jam packed. See so many interesting faces. What's going on? There's a kid there. Doesn't look very comfortable, does it? This is a really nice picture that I like. This is a mile marker, and it says that Anandpur Sahib is 258 kilometers away, and Dialpura is 1 kilometer. And this is a commemorative highway that runs between Tat Damdama Sahib and Anandpur Sahib. So it's a so-called special highway. They have these markers along it. I just found them very colorful. I like their shape too. This canal is huge. I mean, just the canals of Punjab are really an amazing wonder. It's the British made them in the 1870s and 1880s, and at that time, reading at that time, they were some of the largest. They were actually the largest earth construction projects at the time, and it really transformed Punjab, which at the time was pretty arid and unfarmable for large parts of it, and it opened up huge parts of Punjab. The system of canals, it's just such a scientific system that they developed. Of course, they had interior motive because the more arable land there is, the more farmers. Well, you get increased taxation revenue then. So they gained, and actually the people of Punjab gained as well. This is a really rare site. The southern parts of Punjab, as you get closer to Rajasthan, are quite arid. That's where my family's pinned is. My family's pinned, by the way, is called Lande, and it's in Tehsil Baga Purana district, Moga, and it's in the southern, more arid areas, and that's where you see camels, if you do see them. The rest of Punjab, you really don't see them. Again, just they're seeing me and they're, oh, gee, he's taking our picture. Everyone's so happy and excited. Here's some weary travelers taking a break. It's just a fascinating scene. So you have the grandparents, the mother here, the daughter and the son enjoying some refreshing popsicles. They've just put this little cloth up, sitting on it in the shade. It's very hot, and also very fascinating here is you see the folk art of Punjab, kind of things, and shapes and patterns that they painted on their trailer. The landscapes of Punjab are just, again, something I had never seen before or since. Here's a water wheel. It's such low tech and scientific. No motor is needed at all. So it's just picking up water, it's putting it into this channel, and then it's taking it to, again, the system of side channels into the farmer's fields. So no electricity, nothing required. It just runs itself. Just a great invention. I found this kind of interesting. This is a pumping station, and they've turned it into a billboard. Have some very colorful advertisements. And again, that part of why Punjab is such a breadbasket is just because of the such that system of irrigation and farm fields is just been really fine-tuned over the centuries. This is I climbed up a really high water tower in this village, and I just find these scenes so interesting to see how people live, what houses, what the architecture looks like. You can see the close connection, hardly any separation between the animals and the farmhouse. It just stretches on and on. Here's another one that I found interesting. This person's house, and here's a ladder to go up to even higher. And I was looking at the picture later on, and I zoomed in on it. I was like, "What's that?" And it's really interesting. So this is not an address. This is 1952, and this says Veer Singh, American. So Veer Singh went to America in 1952. This is his house. So he's letting everyone know that I went to send money back and I built this beautiful house here. Here's another landscape saying that Nurmal, the town of Nurmal is this way, Flor is that way. And then this is information about the channel, the width and the depth of this bridge. Again, you see these canals and water systems everywhere. Large ones, small ones. So in the modern day Punjab, because Punjab is just a really tiny fraction of what Punjab was like even 100 years ago. So of the we say land of 5 rivers, but there's only 2 rivers that actually flow through Punjab today. It's the Beas and the Satluj, and then the border between India and Pakistan is defined by a 3rd river, the Ravi, but it really doesn't flow into Punjab. So this is the Satluj, and this is just a really, you've heard of flooding in Punjab. These are just really wide flood plains, and you can see they put all sorts of protection to help mitigate the floods. So there's no farming or anybody living close to the river because it just gets really wide when it floods in the rainy season. I mean, even in this landscape again, paddies everywhere, drying in the sun. Now, as you get to the northern parts of Punjab, it's just so beautiful and lush. It's not like the arid southern part. So this is in Gurdaspur, and that's where you start seeing the first mountains in Punjab. These are the foothills of the Himalayas. So the mountains start in northern parts of Punjab, and it's just really green and lush. Here, these boys are crossing the river on a raft. So this is the other of the 2 great rivers of Punjab. So this is the Beas in the northern part of Punjab, and at this time a bridge was being constructed, and I was actually standing on the unfinished bridge to take this picture. So this saves this little boat journey here across this river. Would save these people like hours of going around. So they had eventually gotten to making this bridge to save people's trips. What a spectacular landscape. Imagine living on that farm and having that Gurdwara in the background. It's so surprising when you come across these stunning Gurdwaras in the middle of nowhere. I love this scene. Tractor this Baba here. So this became another interesting picture for me, this cow and this Baba. So just within one scene, you can see how it tells different stories. Portrait. So this was, I tried, as you've seen in the pictures, to be an observer, the camera to really take you into the scene of what's going on. So, you've seen the quintessential, when I think of pictures of Punjab, I think of the posed shot of the happy Bhangra dancers in the field. Well, that's not really real. That's posed, and that's a cliche, but I never saw any Bhangra dancers in any fields in my trip. And I really didn't want to pose people. I wanted to document what's life like. So sometimes when people did notice the camera and they posed for it, that's what these shots are. So as I mentioned, there's just police and military everywhere. So these are police and military. Sikhs have a very long tradition of military service. So if you weren't let's say the eldest son that was going to run the farm, then you would probably go and join the police or the military. I love this little boy. He's so cute. Him and his father were going into a gurdwara, and they saw me, and the dad picked his little son up and put him on this little ledge and said, take this picture. I wonder where he is now. Right? This is like 26 years later. It'd be amazing if we could find him. This is actually the dad of that girl that was at the water pump, and he was so proud to have his picture taken with his prized possession. This is again from that same Nahing camp that I went to, and this was their leader, and he was just a master horseman and a horse trainer, and he's riding this horse bareback. First of all, there's no saddle, and he was riding it back and forth, showing me all sorts of maneuvers that I can imagine that Sikhs would have used, hundreds of years ago in the Khalsa armies. And this is his apprentice. And this horse, believe it or not, they'd actually trained it to matha take. So they would say matha take, and without pulling his head down or anything, the horse itself would put its head right down flat on the ground. It's a pretty amazing sight to see. I love this shot. I mean, if I could just close my eyes or go into a time machine, and I imagine what would Guru Nanak look like if I met him. I would probably imagine something like this Baba here. Maybe he looks like that. I don't know. So why they're lying around here, by the way, is because they've come to that religious festival at the Gurdwara. They've spent the night here, and then they'll go back the next day. So there's no beds or anything. They're just lying down on the stone marble. This cute little Baba, he was going along this well-trodden path. People must have been going here for so many years. He's got his spear, he's got his can of milk. It's so cute. I love this kid. So I was driving along, and this picture again is one of those ones where I'm sticking my camera out the window of the car while they're moving along in their trailer, and we're driving along in our car. And when they saw the camera, they just got so excited. You can see everyone's excited, smiling. So his dad picked up his son, and he's posing him. It's just so cute. Like he's even got a little watch. He's in style. He's wearing double kada. He's got a katban. His turban is matching his father's. So I love this picture of these two kids, best friends, and they're wearing a Bihang style turban. This one, and normally I came across kids and they would be wearing patkas and not turbans, but in this village, because of the strong religious influence, these kids were wearing turbans, and patka only came into fashion and kids wearing it in 1950s. Before that, if you were a little kid, you would wear a normal turban. This was at I left just after Vaisakhi 1995, and so this was a Vaisakhi parade. You see, they're all dressed up in their finest. You see some other pictures of this parade. Finally, we come to devotion. And, we've all seen pictures of Darbar Sahib and Amritsar, but there's so much other interesting architecture in Punjab related to Gurdwaras. And again, it's just so surprising to come across it in farm fields in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving along. This beautiful Gurdwara and courtyard. And another thing which I had never seen is these srovars, these pools that you could take a ritual dip in, and almost every single Gurdwara in Punjab has these beautiful srovars. It's just such a serene and tranquil to sit there. It's beautiful. Other parts of the world here, there's no sarovars, but there you wouldn't build a Gurdwara without a sarovar. Some kids studying their gurkhas, getting religious training. This family, kids dressed up in its finest, 1990s fashions. There's langar Punjab style. So you can see it's just a mud oven, steel plate, making the rotis on it. And then this is how it's being served, just on the ground. Very simple, very humble. Again, just such beautiful architecture, these little gurdwaras. And they're just in harmony with the fields. Again, I love this picture. She's thinking, she's not even noticing the camera, young and old, contrast. Here's that Vaisakhi parade. Again, a different scene. I love this. It's probably her younger sister, and she's looking up at her. Grandmother is here. Little kids dressed up in their cute little uniforms with their knee-high stockings. There's a bag center, cute uniforms. It's so interesting seeing all these signs in English in Punjab. I don't think many countries in the world you could go to, you'd see that many English signs as I saw in Punjab. And my eye goes to the grandfather and his grandson. He's taken him to this historical Gurdwara. I'm sure probably now his grandfather is long gone, but he'll always remember that journey and that trip with his grandfather to the Gurdwara. It's beautiful architecture inside and outside of Gurdwaras. is at Anandpur, and again you can see the beautiful foothills in northern parts of Punjab. Here's this unprotected uh, roof with its paintings. They're so old. You can see how integral gurdwaras are to the landscape, the villages, the towns. Just part of the landscape. Yet people there take it for granted because, you know, they've always seen these things. But me, it's like I was amazed. One of the interesting things is, you know, the sense of preservation, I think, of old architectures is more a Western concept. Sikhs in Punjab seem to have different ideas, because what they would do many times when I go to see some historical gurdwara, I was like, where is it? It's like, oh, we've torn it down. We're building a new, better one. So here's a gurdwara being constructed. It's like, oh my God, torn down old gurdwara. It's just it's more a dynamic sense that um, the religion is always moving. It's not um, looking back on its history, but you know, now I think over probably the last 25 years, now that Sikhs from the West have brought that sense, the importance of preserving history to the people of Punjab, and they're starting to understand that maybe it is important to save that old Gurdwara rather than build a new one.
Hi, Sandeep. I did just want to do a time check very quickly. We do only
Okay.
have 9 minutes left, and I know we do have some questions in the chat that
Yeah.
would be nice to
Well,
address.
I'll stop my presentation there. That and you know, it,
We can keep sharing
you
this.
to enjoy and see and and see what do these pictures mean to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. So the first one is that I'm kind of curious too. I know they're all beautiful, all the pictures, but someone's asking what picture is your favorite or has the most meaning to you and why?
Um,
I know it's a question because all of them are
yeah,
beautiful.
I'm so close to them. It's but probably that girl with that water pump
Hmm.
um, is my favorite. Just
Yeah.
speaks to me about Punjab and its timeless qualities.
For sure, for sure. And the second one, I know you kind of did answer already, but someone's wondering when you were taking the photos, did you find the locals would shy away or were they eager? And I think you mentioned they were always
Yeah.
very eager. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just flattered and honored. Like, wow, you want to take a picture of me? They were just so honored that, gee,
Mhm.
you're taking a picture of me.
Yeah. No, for sure. And then the next question is, so you mentioned that you traveled to Punjab for 3 months straight. So did you think this was enough time to see the whole province or more time was needed? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I just, time stood still, and 3 months was a lifetime. I just saw so much. And, you know, unfortunately, I haven't been back. So in 26 years, I haven't been back to Punjab. I would love to go. It's pretty amazing. People go every year almost, and take it for granted. But for
Hmm.
me, it was something really special.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. The next question I have is basically around, so you went a while back and you captured these beautiful images. Do you think if someone still goes to Punjab today, would they still experience the level of simplicity that we're able to see in your pictures? Or do you think Punjab has changed a lot over the last few years?
Every place changes, and but I think you can see the essence and the quality of the people of Punjab. There's certain timeless attributes which don't change. And part of the reason why I photographed rural Punjab rather
Hmm.
than the cities of Punjab was that in the cities, I really didn't see a Sikh character. Like, you know, a city in Punjab looked like a city in any other part of India, really. It's very cosmopolitan, but when you move to the villages, time slows down and you see the simplicity. And I think obviously, I haven't been back, but listeners would know more than me, but obviously things have changed, but you'll also find that some of these things are still there.
No, for sure. And that kind of ties into the next question. How do you think the infrastructure of Punjab has changed since the last time you visited, right? In many modern pictures, we still do see old bridges and dirt roads. And, I wonder, and I think they're wondering if that's changed since you've been there. And I think the answer is yes, as you mentioned, over time things do change.
Yeah, I wouldn't be qualified to answer it. It would
Yeah.
be more people that have been recently that
Yeah.
can look at these pictures and tell us.
For sure. And you did mention that you wanted to make a coffee table book, and then now you've ended up posting them on your website. Do you still want to make a coffee table book? Would you reconsider making it? Because I think someone in the audience is really recommending you reconsider your decision of making a coffee table book.
Yeah, I think the era of books is passing and the
Mhm.
appreciation of books. I think if you really want to reach young people and connect with them, you got to be on the web. And I'll be kicking off a social media campaign, posting some of these on Instagram and so forth. But I think just having that power of people being able to see these images anywhere at any time, including the people of Punjab and including you in the audience there, and just sharing it with your families. It has such a broader reach by having this online exhibit.
No, for sure, for sure. And the last question I think we'll take is, if you were back in Punjab today, what would you want to focus on when it comes to taking pictures, and what would you
You
want
know, I regret that at the time I didn't come across a wedding. It would have been interesting to have photographed a wedding in a village, but again, weddings today in Punjab have probably become very elaborate affairs
Yeah.
compared to what they were at that time, where more
Mhm,
simple family affairs. So
mhm.
that's one of the things I regret, that I didn't see a wedding to photograph.
Yeah, no, that would have been nice to capture for sure. Do you have any plans of going back to Punjab, Sandeep, and taking more photographs? Is that something that's on your list?
Absolutely. My kids are grown up now, and they're just dying to see, as I was, my roots. They want to see their roots. They've never been, and so hopefully once this COVID stuff is over, we can have a family trip and introduce them to Punjab as through strangers' eyes, as it was introduced to me. It was a
No.
life-changing experience, I would say, for me.
Mhm. No, for sure, for sure. And I do see a lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you for sharing such beautiful pictures. I think everyone that's joined has enjoyed looking at each and every image, and so have I. They're beautiful. So any closing remarks from you before we end our session today?
Yeah, I really want you to enjoy them. Go to the website, share it, sikhmuseum.com
Mhm.
URL with everyone, and just spend hours looking at those pictures and connecting with them, because it really connects us with who we are and our roots.
Mhm. No, for sure, for sure. All right, with that, I think we'll conclude our program today. Thank you so much once again, Sandeep, for joining and sharing these beautiful pictures, and we look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Gurjit Ka Khalsa.
Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.